Okay. In previously we have seen how to print good morning, hello, and welcome through threads. We have used the thread class to achieve that functionality. Uh, Along with the thread class, we can use runnable interface also to implement the thread functionality. Let's see how to use runnable interface to achieve the same functionality. Means using runnable interface, unlike extending the thread class, we will implement the runnable interface and will print good morning for every 1 second, hello for every 2 seconds, and welcome for every 3 seconds. Let's see what changes we should do to implement the same functionality through runnable interface. Okay. Unlike extending the thread class, what we will do, we will implement the runnable interface. Okay, implements interface called runnable. Okay, see, it throws an error. What is that error? First thread, the class first thread must implement the inherited abstract method runnable.run. What does it mean? In the interface runnable, the Java people have defined an abstract method called run, but I have changed the run method name to something, a garbage name. So what Java takes is, it takes the rund function name and assumes that we haven't written the run method specified by the runnable interface, so it throws an error. If we implement any interface, we need to provide the functionality for every abstract method of that interface. This runnable interface has got an abstract method called run, so our function name should be run. See, the error has been eliminated. Okay, why this error again? Okay. Oh. Previously we have extended the thread class, so we have used the sleep function of thread class, but we are implementing the runnable interface, so we cannot use the functionality for sleep function under the thread class. So how to use the thread class sleep function here? There is a static function called sleep under the thread class, so we can call the static methods through class name. See this, even though we haven't extended the thread class, we are calling the sleep function of thread class through class name. As sleep is a static function, I'm calling that sleep function through class name. Okay. Is there any other changes? No. What are the two changes? When we use runnable, we have to implement the runnable interface with the run method. And what is the second change? We cannot use the sleep function directly because we haven't extended the thread class. We are implementing the runnable, so sleep function will be unknown here. So we need to call the sleep function through class name thread dot sleep. Why we are able to call this function without an object? Because sleep is static function, and static function can be called through class name. Okay, let's change the functionalities for other two classes also. What we have to do, we need to implement the runnable interface. Okay, we have changed the 3 thread classes, but what is error here? There is no start. Previously we have extended the thread class, so we have called the start method of thread class, but there is no start method here. So what we have to do? We cannot call the start method like this directly. We need to create the object for our implemented class thread, first thread, and we need to pass this object to thread class so that we will get the thread class object. See the statement. See here, uh, we have created the object for our defined class first thread, and we have passed this class object to thread so that this object will be given as input to the constructor of thread class, and in return we will get the thread class object, so we can call the start method. Okay. All this functionality has been written under the constructor of thread class. By calling the thread class constructor with our runnable interface implemented class, we can get the thread class object, so we can call the start method, and correspondingly the run method of this class will be executed. Let's do the same for remaining 2 classes. We will pass this object to thread class constructor, which will return a thread object. From that we will call the corresponding start functions. Clear, right? What is the change here? As we are unable to call the start method directly, as we haven't extended the thread class, what we have done, we have passed our class object to thread class constructor, so we will get the thread class object, and we are calling the start method. Let's execute this program. See, we are getting the same output even though we are implementing the runnable interface. Okay, if there is a thread class, why we need to implement the runnable? Why there are 2 methodologies? As Java doesn't support multiple inheritance, we cannot extend more than 1 class. So if there is any need to extend other class while implementing the multi-threading, it will not be possible because we need to extend the thread class. So if we implement the runnable interface, we have an opportunity to extend any other class, right? That is the main difference between thread and runnable. Okay,